Welcome back to EHC Unfiltered. If you've been here before, you already know we don't do surface level here. And today's episode, I think, is one that a lot of people need, but not a lot of people are having honestly. And we're going to be talking about alcohol. So, not from a never drink again standpoint and not from a just enjoy life, you deserve it standpoint either. We are coming at this from a place of awareness, psychology, physiology, performance, and your actual relationship with it. Because alcohol is just one of those things that is completely normalized in our culture, but almost never questioned until it
Mhm.
becomes a huge issue. And depending on how you've been using it, it could be quietly holding you back too, because if it's not causing a huge issue, it doesn't mean it's not causing smaller ones, right? I've got Coach Allie back on the show today. This is our third or fourth time. So if you've been here a while, you already know her. And what makes this conversation interesting is that Allie has actually stepped away from drinking entirely of her
Yep.
own choosing,
Yes.
and I currently am not allowed to drink on probation. So,
Yep.
we have a couple different perspectives in the room,
Yeah, definitely, definitely.
but let's get into it.
Do it.
I wanna start here because I think it's the most important setup for everything else that we're gonna be talking about. A lot of people hear a conversation about alcohol and immediately think, well, I'm not addicted, so it doesn't apply to me. And that's exactly why it does apply to you.
Exactly. Yes. 100%. I know, like, from my experience and my personal experience just with the drinking and alcohol in general, I from, a family of alcoholics. And for most of the time, they're functioning, right? They're not throwing their lives away. But I did see that pattern growing up. And when you surround yourself with a pattern, you see it and you recognize it, but you also don't recognize it when you're actually in it either. And I surrounded myself in my personal relationships with people that were just functioning alcoholics. And so I was very aware of what my intake looked like and when I did drink and when I didn't drink and what was the setting I was drinking in, but I didn't realize what people around me were doing and how it was actually affecting me as a person. So
Mhm.
surrounding myself with that, especially like in my romantic relationships with people that were just functioning alcoholics and doing it for as long as I was in those relationships for, I saw what it did to the people around me and I was like, "Ooh, I don't want to be like that. I don't want to do this." Yeah.
So do you think that was the big thing that kind of made you start questioning it? Because I mean, if you said you came from a family of alcoholics. Is that something where growing up, you think you were just kind of used to all of that and you just accepted it? Or did kind of the pushback start earlier?
So I recognized patterns when I was growing up, and I would recognize when family members would have a little bit too much to drink and they were acting just a little bit different and things just weren't adding up, weren't making sense. And as a child, you kind of have the not rose colored glasses, but your filters on to where, yeah, let's say somebody had too much to drink at a family function, but it becomes like a weekly thing. And instead of actually addressing the problem, they just go to bed early. And for me, what made me start questioning it wasn't until I was an adult, actually, and was in a serious relationship in college where the I recognized what alcoholism actually looked like and the different ways it looked for different people. Whereas in my family, nothing was ever abusive whatsoever. But then being in a relationship where it was abusive, that's when I started to notice, like, oh, this looks different for different people. And I really questioned it. So I'm 2 years sober now, and I really started questioning it about 4 years ago after an incident I had with my ex, and where he had a little too much to drink one night, and it started becoming a pattern, and I started to recognize that to the
Mhm.
point where, like, it did get into a situation where it shouldn't have gotten to. And recognizing the patterns from that, I started to kind of question, like, do I really need to be taking part in this even just socially, or is this something that I can do without and just be fine?
So for you, it wasn't even necessarily that you had an issue with it coming into it as far as having the alcohol. It was just that finally you saw how it was affecting everyone else.
Yeah, I could see how it was affecting everyone else. And for me, I have ADHD and I got a little sprinkle of autism. And so
Love that.
when I have alcohol in my system, it helps me take that mask off. So I feel like I'm interacting with somebody as a normal person. So I feel like I can connect with people on a better level. I feel more comfortable in a situation, right? It's that liquid courage. And it helped me just become normal. And so when I started kind of taking a step back, I'm like, well, can I just get the mask off without the alcohol being involved in that?
I'm working on that right now myself because I was a drinker for a while. And I mean, even if it wasn't every weekend or wasn't, all the time or whatever, when I drank, I drank. Um, I was drinking to get drunk. Like that was the idea. And then being in the Marine Corps, I mean, being drunk is just part of the environment at all times, essentially.
Part of a rite of passage, it feels like sometimes.
Yeah. And so I went from being like a delinquent teenager, and then obviously in your early 20s, everyone's drinking because you're just now
Hmm.
allowed to like go to bars and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I was in the Marine Corps. And then so now when I got out of the Marine Corps, I did stop drinking of my own accord, sort of. It was more so an ultimatum from the girl I was dating at the time.
It happens.
It does, but it's funny because I quit drinking because I was like, I don't have a problem. It's not an issue for me to stop drinking until I put that hard, like, no line on like all alcohol. And then I started realizing like it is everywhere,
Literally.
everywhere.
Yes.
And part of the reason that I was hit with that ultimatum in the first place is that I got arrested right before I got out of the Marine Corps
Hmm.
for my second DWI. I blew a .09 at a checkpoint again, almost a year to the day. Uh, yeah, that sucked. And yeah, both situations were at a checkpoint, passed the field sobriety test, blew a .09, and I was just like, I am sober, is how I felt, to me.
Yep.
Part of that was just because I was so used to drinking so heavily that, a slight buzz, I didn't feel it. I'm at a point now where I'm sure if I were to have, a shot or two or like a glass of whiskey or something like that, it probably wouldn't take much for me to get like the warm, fuzzy feeling and like relaxed and all that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really did have to reestablish like a respect for alcohol. And I think what you're describing on your end is probably the side of things most people don't really get to because if it's not a problem by a clinical definition, then they don't think it needs to be examined. But there's a really important difference between it's not a problem and it's, actually helping my life. They are two completely different things. And most people are living in the gap between those and kind of calling it fine. But yeah, it wasn't even until the second time I had to go to mandatory classes that I was like, maybe I should be in these. Maybe this is actually probably where I should be right now. Because to me, the first time I was in those classes, I was like, I got stopped right before I got home. Like all these things, I was, driving someone home who was drunk and yada yada yada. And I had less than half a beer. I was half a beer over the legal limit. Like you guys suck.
Yep.
But that does not erase the fact that I was wrong. All right. I do want that to be very clear. I can say I got screwed and still say that I'm in the wrong. Okay.
That's fair. That's totally fair. That's totally fair. Yeah.
But let's expand a little bit on that gap between it's not a problem and genuinely thriving. Right.
Hmm.
So the question I would push on is what is it costing you that you couldn't see, or what was it costing you that you couldn't see while you were in it? Because
So
that's
for
where
me,
the real answer is.
it was nothing was crazy dramatic for me, but I did notice that I had a lot of brain fog. I had a lot of poor sleep. My workouts were just sluggish the days after. Like, I just didn't feel great. And it went from being like when I was drinking, it was typically on the weekends, socially with friends, things like that, or my significant other at the time. And it was all for fun. I mean, I could never listen. I'm 5'3" on a good day. I'm a lightweight, and I would maybe get like 2 drinks in and be like, "All right, listen, the room is not spinning yet, but it's getting there." And it wouldn't take much for me to feel pretty terrible the next day.
Mhm.
And just becoming more aware of how I felt after, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Yeah.
I think I was so deep in it at a point that I didn't care how I felt after that. The hangover was almost just part of it.
Yeah.
And yeah, because like I think I wish I was a lightweight. It would have made drinking a lot cheaper back in
Well,
the
it made it
day.
a lot cheaper for me, but like it hurt so much the next day. But granted,
Yeah,
I've
I
got
was
the added
still.
benefit of being a female, so I mean,
Yeah, you don't exactly pay for all your drinks, do you?
no, no. So it was one of those things where
Hey, you know what? I've had guys buy me drinks before.
I
So
love that
there.
for you. There's nothing wrong with that. I support that. But it just got to a point where if I was out drinking with my friends on like a Friday night and I was coming into run and boot camp the next day, Saturday morning at 9 a.m., I was running it with 4 or 5, like, Bang energy drinks and then, like, a coffee on standby, and, like, I'd always put, like, an Insta story out and be like, "Hey, whoever brings me, like, an extra Bang doesn't have to do, like, the last run this morning." And, like, 4 or 5 of my people would come in and bring me, energy drinks, but I was struggling, and I started to notice it in just how I felt in, like, my face and, like, the puffiness and, like, inflammation, and I was wearing a couple of different fitness trackers at the time, just testing stuff out. And I would have the worst recovery 4 days after even I had been drinking.
Yeah, yeah. One of my clients is actually discovering that for herself. She's been awesome about being locked in, and then she went to her sister's wedding. So obviously a
Hmm.
totally reasonable time to have a couple drinks, you know?
Right.
But yeah, she did realize like, wow, it's been almost a week and I still don't feel like I did before. And it's like, yeah, it's not just like the next day. Like
Mm-mm.
just because you're done throwing up doesn't mean that your body's
That it's out of your
recovered.
system.
Yeah.
That lingers.
But so was that the first thing that you noticed actually shifted was like your overall just energy throughout the day or?
My energy throughout the day and honestly, like my mood. Mood being I used to introduce myself with like, "Hi, I'm Allie. I'm just a great ball of anxiety." And I didn't realize how much of my anxiety was linked to alcohol and drinking. And again, it wasn't like I was doing anything crazy bananas off the walls every single night, but I did have a lot of anxiety. And I didn't realize how much my central nervous system was just like on all the time.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until because after I got out and then I stopped drinking on my own, I had to then go to court for what happened.
Mhm.
And I took the plea deal, which was supposed to be a week in jail and then no probation. And I was like, let's do that. I was just in the Marine Corps. I can go to jail for a week.
Right. You're like, "It might be easier."
Yeah. And so I accepted the plea deal. And then after I accepted it, signed it, they put me in cuffs and everything. The judge added 2 years of probation on top of it. So that sucked. But
Awesome.
it wasn't until that when they were like, part of your probation is that like you're not allowed to drink. And I was like, I've already not been drinking for 6 months. But now that you told me that I can't, you're making me want to.
Now I wanna do it.
Yeah, that just strictly out of
Here, don't press the big red button, but I'm gonna put it right in front of you.
yeah. But
Yeah.
so after that, after when I was done drinking and everything and started doing a lot more self-improvement, going to therapy, doing all the things, um, there was one specific time in one of my therapy sessions where I was just explaining all this shit that was going on, and I was like, "I don't understand why I'm struggling so hard." And my therapist at the time was basically like, "Look, you're going through all of the things that people go through in rehab.
Mhm.
Like, people go to entire places locked away from everyone else just to go through what you're going through with specialized people running it, and you're doing it on your own. Like, that's why you're fucking losing your mind. And I was like, that does make a lot of sense, I guess, when you put it like that. So, to anyone out there who's struggling, it is a task. All right. So, but anyway,
It's
besides me,
not easy for anybody.
but I mean, exactly what you were talking about, exactly what you were describing, the science backs all of that up, right? It's not just like a placebo effect. Alcohol disrupts your REM sleep, so you're not just sleeping lighter, like your actual REM sleep is disrupted, which affects cognition. So you're going to have your brain fog, short term memory, difficulty retaining longer memories.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, you're cutting off the most restorative part of your sleep. And
You
especially
get
for anyone
fragmented
who's
sleep,
been,
right? So
yeah.
you're missing out on the release of growth hormones. Missing out on recovery. It's bananas. It's crazy.
Well, and that's, I mean, especially for, well, for everyone, your cortisol goes up, but especially for men, because men
Mhm.
love talking about their testosterone. Your testosterone goes down when you don't get REM sleep and you don't get enough sleep. So your recovery slows, your testosterone drops, your cortisol spikes. All the keywords are being used. So that's how you know that sleep is important. All the buzzwords are used.
Right. Well, not just sleep, that's not even going into, like, your liver
Yeah, that's
and gut
literally
health,
just,
which again,
yeah, that's
affecting
just
your
REM
brain.
sleep.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, your body is literally functioning differently when you're drinking or not drinking.
Yes. One thing that one of my friends told me when I stopped actually drinking, it was after a very bad night. And like I said and mentioned before, I am quite the lightweight. So it didn't take much. But that night I lost count how
Mm.
many shots we were doing at the table. And I I take a lot of pride in the fact that like I've never gotten sick ever really from drinking, but that night changed everything, and I barely made it into my house. I woke up the next morning, like, it was just it was so bad, and it was one of those things where I was like, "I just think I need a little break from drinking." And, uh, I was kinda sharing this experience with one of my friends, and he goes, "Drinking basically borrows the feel good from tomorrow." And I was like, "Yeah, yeah, I feel like I needed to hear that," because I didn't realize even though I wasn't somebody who was drinking long term or just every single night of the week, I felt like I was probably doing enough damage just to myself based on my size on the weekends that I was drinking because it'd be Friday night, Saturday night, a Sunday morning mimosa, things like that, to where I was like, oh, yeah, someone who also is autoimmune, I'm probably doing way more damage than I actually think. And so I didn't realize how bad my liver could get, and then I found out that, like, liver issues run in my family, and I had some blood work done, and they were like, "So, your liver's not great." And they were like, how many drinks do you have a week?" And I'm like, "Maybe, like, 2 to 4 max." And they're like, "Yeah, yeah, you need to probably cut back on that." I'm like, "Okay."
Cutting back is quitting.
Cutting back is quitting. And that wasn't the thing that really made me do it, but when I actually started to learn the science behind, like, how much the liver is affected, not just with drinking, but how much more goes into effect when you're talking about things like gut inflammation and you're talking about just the metabolic engine of the body, and then going into the amount of inflammation and how that delves into, like, cancer and all this other crazy stuff.
I mean, you could go even as deep as, the like, I'm actually making a post about this soon, but you change your DNA, like, throughout your life based on the things that you do. So whether you're someone who is active and in sports and has, more muscle on their body and things like that, you change your DNA,
Mhm.
and then that is the DNA that you pass on.
Yes.
So it directly affects your child's DNA, how you live your life.
Well, yeah, and
That's a whole other episode, I think.
that's a whole other thing because we'll touch on that for a second because I think that's actually really important to address. That it's yes, you're changing your DNA, right? But then for males too, I don't think they realize how important they are in relation to a woman's pregnancy. So, yeah, I mean, like males are important in creating life, but the health
We
of the
have a part.
pregnancy. What's that?
I said we have a part to play.
You have a part to play, right? It's an important part, but it's a part. But the role that they take in pregnancy, in the health of the woman's pregnancy, and in the health of the placenta comes from male health. So if you have somebody and your partner has been drinking consistently or like likes a beer a few times a week, like having them cut that out for 3 months before trying to conceive is going to create a healthier placenta for the baby and a healthier pregnancy overall. So, like, ladies, your morning sickness is determined by your men's health. Just saying. Just saying.
Yeah, and there's because that's another thing too, right? Is even the psychology side of that, as far as like choosing partners and things, is like
That's a whole other
there.
thing.
I know there we could just go on forever, but I mean, there's the what is it? The mental side of things where the father can actually experience the morning sickness instead of the wife. They can have like a sympathy
Uh-huh.
sickness is what they call it,
Uh-huh.
and like sympathy pains, so they can have like contractions and shit too. But that is how powerful your brain is, right? That's an example. Is like literally just through sympathy, you could experience pregnancy symptoms.
Body is wild, man. The
That's
body is
nuts.
wild.
Isn't that
That's
nuts?
nuts.
But yeah, it's back to the drinking.
Back to the
It's a
drinking.
good 24 to 48 hours where you are genuinely compromised. And
Yes.
then after that is I would say another 48 hours for recovery after that. So
Yeah. And
I
a lot
would
of
say
that depends
probably a
on,
full
I
4.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
gonna depend on your baseline for sure,
yes.
because someone who is healthier, on a good diet, doing all the things, having the micronutrients, da 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 da,
Right.
they're gonna recover much better, especially if they're someone who doesn't drink all the time
Right.
versus someone who, has a tolerance.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, for sure.
they might physically not have as much of a hangover or something just because they have that sustained tolerance now, but
Hmm.
their insides are in shambles.
Yeah. Well, and I don't think people realize, like, we notice how it makes us feel, right? And then for some people in the fitness world, uh, they're like, well, I'm having like 3 or 4 beers and then I might have a margarita, but like I'm gonna get a killer workout tomorrow. I'm gonna sauna. It's gonna be fine. I'm gonna sweat it all out. Like I can do this as long as I do this. But I think people don't realize that like there's calories.
Well, that's what I mean, even in, like, the bodybuilding scene, right? So even, like, very deep into gym culture, that was a very or fairly commonly used thing backstage, either the night before or right before going on stage, is having, a shot of vodka or a little bit of wine or something like that and make you a little
Yep.
more vascular and dry.
Yep. Oh, for sure.
So,
The
obviously,
vodka
that,
works great.
that one shot's not gonna kill you, but
Right. Right. No, no, no. And that's not what I'm saying, right? But for those that, they want to maintain a healthy lifestyle and they justify that by, well, I'm just going to go do an extra workout or do an extra circuit or maybe go to CrossFit or something like that, do some extra conditioning. But we're forgetting about all the things that alcohol does within the body, not just how you feel, but the actual things that it's doing inside of you. And I think we forget a lot too that like it is going to switch on hormones and then turn others off. So when we're out and we're, social with our friends, it's suppressing leptin. So your fullness hormone, right? And it stimulates ghrelin. So that typically leads to anywhere between a 20 and 30% increase in food intake while you're drinking.
oh, man,
So it's these little things we
drunk
have to think
truck
about.
tacos, though, will forever be the best,
A
alright?
drunk Taco Bell run, there are few
No,
things
no, 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 no. It has to be a truck taco. It has to be
like a gas
from,
station
like,
truck taco.
yeah, like a street truck, like,
Yeah, that I'm
forever the
fine.
best.
That I love.
But,
but I'm also
Absolutely,
focused
you are
for the
not
most part.
wrong. I will gorge myself if I've had a couple of drinks, because all of a sudden it's just everything's out the window.
I mean, yeah, there's never any rules for a diet when the drinks are
Yeah,
flowing.
but I mean, the hormones are changing, which I mean, we're already doing enough through our daily lives and in society today, changing our hormones. I don't think people understand the mental side of things
Mhm.
unless it's like very apparent to them for whatever reason. But let's get into the mood and mental health side of it a little bit
Let's talk about it.
because this one's
I
big. I
love
don't
mental
think
health.
it, I know it's great. And especially since I'm now over halfway through that book, by the way. And
Hey,
I told you I finally started reading it or listening
I
to it,
like
and
it.
I'm like 60 or 70% of the way through the book now, I think.
And what is that book again?
The what is it? Body Keeps
The
the
Body
Score?
Keeps the Score.
There we go. I had to
There it is.
remember the title. I could
If
tell
y'all
you
haven't
all
read
about
that,
the book,
read it.
but oh yeah, if you haven't read it,
Phenomenal
absolutely.
book.
It is great. And I'm not even done with it yet, but it is there's a lot of good stuff in there. But a lot of people use alcohol specifically to relax, right? Which is why
Mhm.
we have so much weekend drinking, social drinking, and it's all very accepted, is because everyone's there for the same thing. So if everyone's there for the same thing, it's not weird.
Phenomenal.
But they just want to take the edge off a hard day. And, that's real life. There's not an issue with that. But the research is consistently showing that long term use is actually linked to increased anxiety, like we were
Mhm.
just talking about, and depression. So, it might feel like relief in the moment, but it's going to make the thing you're trying to escape so much worse. And that was actually one of the things my therapist told me was that I was probably self-medicating with alcohol, um, for, like, the anxiety and depression and everything, and it's like, "Oh, would you look at that?" So,
How about that? Learn something new.
uh but yeah, it's funny because just to touch back to what you had said about the social aspect and it kinda helps you take off the mask, is even now, I have moments where I'm like, do I not know how to socialize with people? Like, do I not know how to, like, have a conversation? What is going on? Like, why am I struggling now?
How is the weather?
Yeah, and I'm just like, I don't even know how to have a regular experience anymore.
Yeah. Well,
But that's part of the effect for drinking for so long, right?
yeah. I mean, when you get into that social setting and you're drinking, I think that because that mask comes off, because we're a little bit more relaxed, you can talk about anything with anybody. Like some of the best conversations I ever had at a bar was in the girls' bathroom with a bunch of other girls that I didn't know, right?
And
So
never saw
it's one
again.
of those the mask comes off and you're just able to like all inhibitions gone, right? The downside of that is everything that happens after, right? So I think that even in a social setting, yes, we're again just borrowing the feel good. So it all feels good in the moment, but over time you don't realize how much it's actually affecting you in a negative way until you get rid of it. So that ability to make small talk with people, that ability to just connect with somebody without having that extra little bit of liquid courage.
Whatever.
Yeah. So is it, and then comes into play, like, are those actual genuine conversations? Or is it just something that happened in the moment and you're going to forget about it anyway? So how important really is it?
Well, and I think that's kind of the tricky part, right? Is that alcohol is also the mechanism that keeps you from seeing that clearly.
Hmm.
Alcohol downregulates your system in the short term, right? Which feels like calm and everything like we were just talking about.
Hmm.
But your nervous system adapts. So it's going to compress that. And over time, the baseline anxiety actually rises. So you need more of it to get back to where you started as far as like the alcohol, which is no longer a good place that you want to be in.
100%. 100%. You get used to it. So it's the sensory, the sensory input of it. I think we get it confused over time, and we don't think about that. So I mean, the amount of red flags I could have avoided had I stopped drinking earlier in life, I think would be much different. But it's just we had to
Yeah,
live with that.
if I didn't
But
start drinking at 13 or whatever, yeah, my my life would probably be a little different.
that's yeah, I feel the same. But
Oh
our
gosh.
brain builds that association with, okay, I'm stressed or nervous or anxious, so I get a drink and then I have relief. So we fall into that cycle and it just reinforces that behavior over time. So it's just what we know, it's what we come to know, and that's what becomes comfortable. So it becomes less, I think, of a choice and more of just a default setting for a lot of people.
And then alcohol kind of becomes the filter in a sense. So before you do anything, all of a sudden you have to have alcohol. But that is I think the clarity aspect is something that I do hear from a lot of people who want to cut back or stop, is that it's not just about how they feel, but it's about how you see yourself, your patterns, your reactions, what's actually going on everywhere else. Alcohol just puts a filter on all that, I think, and kinda just puts it to the side, and we can compartmentalize all day. Compartmentalizing is a useful skill. I've been
Yes.
told by my therapist that I'm
Yes,
very
it
good
is.
at it.
Yes. I'm a pro over here. I got you.
However, you need to be able to get back in those compartments.
Yeah. See, I'm really good at making the compartments. Getting back to
Ah,
them
I'm
on
a
me too.
fucking Bob the Builder over here,
Yeah, 100%.
man.
Mm,
But coach to coach here, right? Obviously, we came from a little bit of a different angle
right.
on the same issue. This one definitely hits home for performance oriented people, right? So that's the majority of both of our audiences, I would say.
Yes,
Right.
I would
And
agree.
I think this is where the real cognitive dissonance is happening, because we've got people who are serious about training. They're
Yep.
serious about their physique. They're serious about getting results and their nutrition. And then they're not accounting for working against their goals on the weekend.
It's literally you're taking one step forward, three steps back.
Yeah. Oh, I got a good one. I got some math for people who see things with numbers. I'm making a video about this one too, because it's just been one of my thoughts in my brain lately. But if you have $100, right? We just started 100.
Mhm.
A 50% increase would be 150. But if you lost that, it's only a 33% decrease. So it takes 50% growth to go from 100 to 150,
Mhm.
but it only takes a 33% loss to lose everything you just gained. So
Yeah.
you can do great all weekend or all week, excuse me, throughout the week. That's your 50.
Yeah.
You just earned 50% more throughout the week. And then on those 2 days on the weekends when you throw everything out the window, it's only 2 days, right? Well, it's only 33%. You just lost that 50 that you just gained. So,
Exact exactly.
that was a fun one. Nice little numbers game for people
I
there.
like that. That's good. That's good.
But, we know alcohol reduces muscle protein synthesis,
Mhm.
meaning that your body isn't actually able to repair your damaged muscles. So just like you were talking about with people who are like, I drank a fifth last night, but I'm gonna go sweat it out in the sauna and then just deadlift until I fall over. You're literally just making it worse.
You're introducing a toxin into the body, and so when you consume that, the body's like, "Ooh, bad. This is a toxin. I need to get rid of it." So it's going to prioritize that detoxification, and it's gonna pause other processes. So that puts a pause on fat burning. So if your big goal is like, I want to go in the gym, I want to get ripped, I want to get shredded, I want to get lean, but you're out even just having like two, three drinks on the weekend, that's what we're looking at.
Well, and that's even for to shift it a little bit uh to more of the athletes in the audience. It's also affecting your coordination, your reaction time,
Mhm.
again, we're talking about a 24 to 48-hour window of being compromised. I'm not pulling that number like out of my butt. There are studies to support this.
Yes.
So that means those couple of drinks that I'll just drink on the weekend thing is really going to screw you come Monday or Tuesday when you have to perform.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And this does not mean plan your drinking schedule around your games. This means if you're doing that, you might need to reevaluate some things.
If you're planning your drinking schedule that specifically, then I think you need to
I can point you in the direction of somebody that can,
reevaluate.
but we might have to have a different conversation.
Yeah, there might be another kind of specialist.
Yes. Yes. Oh my
But,
god.
and this isn't about being perfect or some zero tolerance policy, right?
Mm-mm.
It's about just being honest with yourself and about the math that goes into it. And because, like we were saying, if your goals are serious, your inputs have to match.
This like
You really just can't out train a body that is so chronically under recovered and overstressed.
we're not, and I want to make this clear. We're not sitting here telling people like you have to quit. You have to quit drinking. You have to quit doing XYZ. But it is about understanding how it actually affects you. So I think if people actually took a step back and realized, like, this is messing up my liver, it is messing up my gut, it's messing up my sleep, my brain. Maybe this is why I feel kind of achy and gross on Monday morning. But again, I'm not telling anybody to stop, but I'm also not saying that if alcohol was, discovered all of a sudden in our modern world today, um, that the recommended amount would be 0%.
Yeah.
Because of the classification of toxic carcinogens. So
Yeah,
I'm
because
just
it's
saying
just
that
poison. It's just poison.
it is.
Poison.
It is. It's poison. And again, I'm not telling anybody to quit, but it's more of just understanding how it actually affects you. So if you're one of those people that likes to wear any type of fitness wearable, like a Whoop, Garmin, Apple, or a Ring, whatever, look at your HRV before and after you drink. Look at your sleep cycles before and after you drink. And not
Yeah.
just like the night after, I'm talking like 2 days after,
Yeah,
and see what
track it for, like, a week before and then a week after and see what happens.
yeah. Tell me things don't change a little bit.
Yeah, and I just made a little video on HRV too, so if you don't know what that does, go look at the Instagram.
Go watch it because that's
No,
important
but
to
your heart rate variability essentially is, a way that you can measure how well you're recovering or how ready you are for your body to handle more. I feel like that's a simple way to put it without going too deep into HRVs and things, but
yeah, that's a good explanation.
I do wanna get this one. Let's see, because we are kinda talking about the social aspects of this as well, right? I think this is where most people get stuck. It's not the health side of things so much.
Mhm.
I think intellectually, we all kind of accept that when we're going into it now.
Right.
I think the real hesitation is social because drinking is so woven into how we connect and to how we celebrate and to how we decompress with other people. So, Allie, when you stepped away,
Yes.
how was that socially? What did that look like for you?
So when I initially stepped away, and decided I didn't wanna drink anymore, I was still with somebody. My partner did actively drink quite a bit and was basically a functioning alcoholic. And so a lot of things that we did were surrounded by drinking. And I did not stay in that relationship very long after because I could see that that change just wasn't going to happen with me, and that was fine. And when I left that situation and that relationship, the things that changed the most was that things didn't get harder, but a lot of things became more clear for me. So it was for me, I was alone. So I just didn't go out. So if if I was going out to meet friends somewhere, I tried to surround myself with people that just weren't drinking or that really didn't drink a lot, or it wasn't like that wasn't the vibe of the night. So maybe instead of going to a bar to like watch a game, instead we were going out to dinner and then we were going like on a walk afterward or something like that. So for me, it made things a little bit awkward at first, to the point where I just didn't go anywhere and I just stayed home and decided to I was like, "No, it's fine. One day a man will just walk up to my door and we'll be in love and it'll be great." And then when I realized that that wasn't happening for me and I actually had to like go out to meet people, it was awkward at first, but then I got to a point where if I had a guy ask me to go like for drinks, I was like, "Oh, well, I'm sober. I don't drink. Let's just go for coffee instead." And most of the time, if that became a problem, I wouldn't want to be with that guy anyway. But for the
That is
most
really one
part,
of Go ahead.
it was a little awkward at first, but I feel like the culture is shifting now to where becoming sober or just being sober in general is normal. So if I go to a bar now and I ask for like a mocktail or like a Topo Chico and pineapple juice, they're like, "Oh yeah, I got you. Don't worry about it." And there's not really any questions asked.
Alright, and first of all, if we're ordering a mocktail, that means there's no alcohol in it. Why is it the same price?
That okay, yeah,
Why
let's
why
talk.
am I paying $20 for a juice?
Well, again, to be fair, you're also in New York and I'm in Texas
You're
and prices are
paying
a
for
little bit
the
different.
experience.
So
Shut up.
get it. I get it. Bars, let's talk about that
Uh,
because that is a little unfair. Just saying. I understand it too. I'm not super jazzed about that. But go ahead.
but yeah, that was crazy.
It's true
I
though.
think that was probably one of the biggest realizations I had when I stopped drinking was because I was out with people,
Mhm.
and I was either in California or Florida, but we were out and I was like, "Oh, I want something." And I think I was in California and I got like a non-alcoholic beer, I think is what I got.
Yeah.
And I guess that could be the same price just because you still have to whatever. I don't know how they make it. But getting back on track a little bit, I think a lot of people aren't afraid of giving up drinking, and it's what changes socially. So I am actually very, very, very interested in seeing how the next couple of years go because I think was it COVID that kicked off the reduction in drinking, I think? Because it's like,
So I think what happened, honestly, I think COVID made drinking worse for a lot of people.
well, probably while they were at home, yeah, but as far as,
Yeah,
like,
I think
going
it
out
was
to bars
post
and things like
COVID
that.
when yeah. Um, because I know at least in my experience, COVID made drinking horrible. But I think it
Yeah.
was coming out of COVID and people realizing like, "Oh, like I lost my relationship because of this, or maybe I lost my job because of this." I think that's when people started to kind of have that mental shift.
Yeah, because I think I would need to pull up the article, but it was, like, our age group is drinking, like, the least of any age group from the last, like, forever, basically, since
Yes.
we've had alcohol.
Yeah.
So I think that's awesome.
It's
I'm really
fantastic.
excited to see, how that changes things, whether they'll, you know, because 'cause we're gonna have to find something else. We're social animals.
Yeah.
They just made marijuana not a Schedule One anymore, so, oh, maybe we'll have some weed bars to go hang out at.
Let's get that with like a mocktail bar and then there's a DJ, but we're done by like 9:30 so we can all be home by 10.
Yeah, bedtime is, like, 10:30 right now anyway, so that works
Yep.
perfect.
See? There we go. There's our business plan. Got it.
We got it locked in. Uh,
Done.
but I think you kinda hinted on it a little bit before when if alcohol is the glue in your relationship, regardless of what kind of relationship it is, just friends, romantic or otherwise, whatever, removing it will show you very quickly what that relationship actually was underneath. And
Yep.
9 times out of 10, if the only time you're seeing someone is when you're drinking with them, you guys are probably just feeding into each other's bad habits, and you're just a safe bad habit with someone else.
A safe bad habit.
Yeah, you don't have to they don't have to feel judged because you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
But
I mean, just
I
like
do
any
think yeah. I think when we take that mask off though, when we stop drinking or stop just drinking,
yeah.
because that was the foundation of 1 or 2 of my relationships in my lifetime, was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we just hang out and drink every weekend," and then now all of a sudden we just are together all the time. I'm sure
Yeah.
that's healthy.
Yeah.
But, when you stop drinking and you start analyzing your circles and things like that, a lot of those questions and answers are going to be very uncomfortable,
Yes.
but
Yes,
they
they are.
are also very honest. And I think that honesty is a part of what makes the change sustainable as you stop building a social currency around something that's costing you.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I
And
know
that
when I stopped drinking, the thing that I think changed the most about kind of how I see myself is that I realized the level of discipline and like self-awareness that I could have. And that carried over into everything. So when I stopped, it was cold turkey, left a bad relationship, focused on myself, created this crazy just self-discipline, this self-awareness, this routine. And it became one of those decisions where I was like, I can choose what's best for me, even if it's not what everybody else around me is doing, and still thrive and be fine. So I
I
think,
think that's huge.
yeah. And I think a lot of people don't realize what they're capable of until they actually take that thing out of their life. And that, I mean, it could be alcohol, it could be marijuana for some people, it could be
No,
other things,
absolutely.
right? But it's removing that
Sex.
one.
A
Right.
lot of people a lot of
Yeah.
people don't like to admit that they are, have some sort of sexual addiction or proclivity that is getting in your way. That,
Yeah.
I think
Yep.
maybe will be our next episode.
That's a whole we could go deep on that topic.
I'll roll down that hill, that's fine.
Oh my gosh. Well, we'll put a pin in that one because that's a good one, and we could talk all day about that. But really, like I said, any kind of vice you could use that for, and I think people just forget that like modern day vices, alcohol, marijuana, your phone, like your
Yeah.
tablet, whatever it may be, stuff like that. When you finally take a break from it and just put it away, put it on the shelf, it opens up so many doors that again just kind of roll over into everything. So that rolled over into every aspect of my life. It rolled over into my work, it rolled over into my friend group, it rolled over into my hobbies. Things just like I was like, wow, I felt like I was at the bottom of the barrel and now I'm like, hey, life's pretty good up here. Yeah.
That's something I say, or that I have been saying for the last year or so since I've started this whole thing, is just it's crazy what happens when you get out of your own way.
Yes.
And I will say that over and over and over and over and over again. Um, the the real shitty part is that a lot of that is going to come to you in hindsight.
Yes.
Part of the working on yourself thing is that you don't even know how you're standing in your own way sometimes until you're reflecting on it. But alcohol should, in theory, be something that you can throw up some red flags around and figure it out. But I think we should touch on dating and relationships. We've touched on it a little bit throughout just because
Hmm.
how can you not?
Part of the conversation.
Yeah, but let's go there because it is a real conversation. Alcohol is embedded in dating culture, just like we were, just talking about.
Yeah.
First dates, alcohol.
Yeah.
Socializing, alcohol.
Yep.
Creating connections, alcohol.
Yes.
So, you know, I'm curious to see how dating sober has affected your dating life practically, because
Yep.
I've experienced a couple things just as far as it does get annoying when, like, everyone's thing is, "Let's grab a drink."
Yeah.
So tell
So
me a little bit about that.
what do you want to know? So when
Just
when
just
I
just
started
practically, what was the
practically
shift?
so for me, it made things a lot more clear on my end when it's funny because I had two different things happen. So when I started dating, I went out on a couple dates with a guy who was he wasn't sober. He didn't abuse alcohol or anything like that. but he wanted to go out for drinks, and I was like, "Oh, well, I don't drink." I was like, "You can drink. That's fine, but I'll just, get a mocktail, whatever, no big deal." So for that situation, I was very clear in the moment and clear-headed in the moment, so I could kind of see the red flags that would pop up here, there. And after about 2 dates, I was like, you know what? I'm good. I don't need that." Um, but then I also went on a date with a guy who was also sober and had been sober his entire life. And so having that clarity from one person to another, we were able to see very clear, like, first date, I'm like, this just isn't for me. And he kind of felt the same way, which was nice in that we didn't have to have that awkward
Hey,
back and forth. Yeah. So it has definitely made things a lot more clear. And it's made how I date different as far as what I'm actually willing to, like, go out and do. I don't necessarily like going out to bars and just hanging out, because, I mean, I'll order, like, a mocktail or and then another mocktail, and I'm like, after a while, I just get a little bit bored, and you can kinda see everyone's getting a little wild, a little fun, and that's fine, and, like, I can have a good time without drinking, but I also wanna do something that's more in depth. I wanna talk more. I don't just
well,
wanna
and
converse.
you wanna be included as well because when you're in those environments, it's hard to feel on the outside when you're in a bar.
It is, and so it's me being sober has created this situation where there's no buffer, no distraction. So I'm just having, like, real conversation. And that's the thing that I really appreciate. And it really helps you figure out really quickly if you're going to connect with somebody or not.
I think that's a really good point because, yes, we use alcohol on first dates and things to kinda ease the nerves a little bit and kinda get that conversation flowing,
Yeah.
but, like you said, maybe you also let a couple things slide by that normally you wouldn't or, whatever the case
Oh,
is.
yeah. Yeah.
Um,
If I
but
if I could go back and tell, like, 2013 Allie, like, "Ooh, hey, maybe don't go on this date and get, 4 drinks in and be like, 'Yeah, let's do this again.'" Don't do that.
yeah, definitely don't commit to the second date on the first date. Don't do that.
Don't.
Almost ever, to be honest.
Give it a day. Give it a day at
Yeah,
least. Give yourself
process
some.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
But I will say having a relationship because I was attempting to mend an old relationship when I stopped drinking,
Mhm.
but she stopped drinking with me, so neither of us drank for a while, and then there was a point, though, where I was like, "Yeah, I'll try to, go out, like, I wanna go out and hang out and do something,"
Oof.
but as soon as we were fine sitting outside having dinner, people having drinks,
Yeah.
whatever, everyone was
Yeah.
good, we were outside, it was a good time. As soon as it shifted to, like, the bar scene, I was like, "I don't wanna be here." I was like, "I
Yeah.
don't like this."
Yeah.
But I was lucky enough that she picked up on it pretty quick, like, she was kinda like, "Hey, are you good?" And I was like, "I don't really
Yeah.
wanna be here anymore."
You're like, "I would like
Uh,
to."
and
Yeah.
I felt bad because it was, like, her group of friends and everything, and but, when you're doing that kinda thing, you need to be able to
Yeah.
do the shitty parts, and that's one of the
Yeah.
shitty parts is you might have to, remove yourself from a situation like that.
Right.
You were lucky enough to get out of the relationship you were in
Yes.
because alcohol was still present.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to at least have someone that quit alongside me at the time. Granted, our relationship didn't work out, so that's another
Yeah.
story, but
Yeah.
just having that support system, though, really does make a huge difference.
Oh, no, it really does. When I decided I wanted to be sober, he was not supportive and got to a point where we were at a party. And it was just a friend's party and everyone was drinking, I wasn't. And we got in a fight in the middle of this party because he said, "Well, you're just not fun anymore. You're no fun anymore. You're just boring." And I'm like, "What? That could be, the 7 drinks that you've had talking." But yeah, so it's if you have somebody that does it with you, it's an amazing experience. And having that support system there is awesome. And when you don't, it's a little bit harder to do it alone, but that's really kind of what helped me figure out what I needed for myself. Not just romantically, but just in my own life, like what am I willing to surround myself with?
Yeah, I do think even though the girl I was dating at the time was definitely a key figure in me getting a hold of the whole alcohol thing,
Mhm.
when our relationship ended and it was just me, it really was, like you said, that's when it really starts happening because you're starting to do it for yourself now,
Right.
which was a big thing for me as I wasn't doing it for myself at any point. So I think that also made it more difficult.
Right.
But yeah, I'm glad I don't drink anymore, at least not like I used to.
Yes. Yes. Me
Because
too.
I would still like to, have a drink at a wedding or,
Mhm.
whatever it is. But man, you almost just it takes over your life at a point. It really does. And people just don't see it. But I think it really ties back to something deeper, around identity and everything when you remove alcohol from dating. Um, and like you said, from that early connection, you're kind of forced to show up as yourself. You don't
Yeah.
you don't get that buffer. It's just you.
It's just you. It's cool to see, and it's cool for, like, me to kinda look back on when when I was dating and getting back into the dating world. I'm like, I'm just kinda showing up as I am, and that's the first time I've ever done that in my adult life, is actually be genuinely me on a first date and not have that weird rose-colored glasses effect of alcohol, because drinking Allie and sober Allie were 2 very different people. And they were 2 very different people on dates. And it
That was
helped me just navigate, like, what does a functioning relationship look like anyway?
Yeah, that was the one thing I was gonna say, that I forgot a minute ago was it might be boring, but guess what? Boring Steven starts podcasts and businesses and coaching people and doing all
Yep,
these cool things,
yep.
becoming a model and, walking in Men's Fashion Week. Boring Steven does that shit. The
Boring Steven's
fun
got a pretty cool resume.
Yeah, the fun Steven who drinks and shit goes to
Mhm.
jail.
Not so fun.
Not so fun. Not for me anyway.
Yep.
So, there is, be there's value in being quote unquote boring, right?
Well, and you learn more about yourself. Like, I would never call it boring. I would just say that you really do figure out what's important in your life and what you're passionate about too. So boring, not so much. It's just who you are as a person, and that's your character. And I think that is probably the most important thing that gets overlooked when you're in a social setting and there's alcohol involved, because people have a tendency to change. I was never This is a great example. I was never a I am not a touchy-feely person. I don't like it. I don't want people to touch me, hug me, nothing. Like, high five, and I'm like, that might be a little much." And when I had a couple of drinks in me, I'm hugging everybody. Everybody's my friend. I'm taking everybody home. We're all going on trips. It's a whole thing. We're planning a whole weekend. It's great. And when I became sober, I realized I actually am quite a touchy-feely person, just with my people.
Yeah.
And it I started noticing how much, not my personality changed, but how much I changed in what I actually wanted and desired internally, that would come out externally when I was drinking, but now it's reserved for, like, my people more than anything else.
You properly aligned your boundaries is essentially what it
Yes.
was.
That's a good way to put it.
Your brain didn't know where to put the blockades, so it just
There
said
was
no.
no blockades whatsoever. There was none. The bartender was my friend, like, whoever's sitting next to me, we're gonna go on a trip. It was, yeah.
And I was always that guy. I was always making friends with the bartenders and just whoever. I do miss going out.
Yeah.
I wish there was more sober options for, like, nights out and stuff, and I know that you can
So
find
we'll get
them.
on that mocktail and weed bar.
Yeah,
Hire the
yeah.
DJ.
We're gonna open it up. Probably not in
Man,
Texas because I think that would be a hard one to sell.
the you'd be surprised. Come to Houston, you'd be surprised.
Yeah, no, that's
Hang
true,
out in
but
Austin.
that is part of what makes Texas so great is that it has the blue cities in a red state, so
Yes, it does.
you get the good balance.
There's there's definitely a balance there.
I think there's an important balance there.
Yes. God bless Texas.
But, like we were saying, alcohol isn't just like a habit for most people. It is tied to some sort of identity, right? And so even just like me being
Right.
in the Marine Corps, the alcohol is a big part of the military culture. Uh, this is what we do. This is how we unwind. This is just part of my life, is what, we hear all the time. But
Yeah.
it becomes part of your self concept. And when you remove it, a different set of questions comes up. Who am I without this? What do I actually enjoy?
Right.
Because if you could only go out and do things that you enjoyed when drinking, then you probably don't actually enjoy those things. Um, what do I need to do to assimilate
Yeah.
into, this new identity?
Yeah.
So what did you discover about yourself? What questions came up for you when you stopped?
What do I do now?
Now
So
what?
now what? It was more of I quit drinking. I left a relationship very close together. And so a lot of it was this was the first time in my adult life I was actually alone. And I I really was. I remember sitting on my couch one night. It was like a Saturday night and it was maybe around 7 o'clock and I just finished dinner and I'm like, okay, well now what? What do I
Yeah.
do? And I had to really kind of step back and be like, what do I want for myself? And I didn't want to just jump into a relationship. I wanted to really learn myself first and foremost. So what I did was that. I found things I was passionate about. I found new hobbies. I had old hobbies come back up. I for me, the things that changed the most was kind of like just rediscovering what I like to do for myself for fun, but also that was fulfilling. So, I mean, and this is a whole other conversation, but that was like I found Jesus by myself and we spent a lot of time together and I think it just comes down to like what are you looking for and asking yourself those hard questions of like okay, I took this thing away that was a crutch for a long time. Now what?
Yeah, I was just gonna say that that's where a lot of people, I don't wanna say drop the ball or miss the point or anything like that, but it's a very serious adjustment period because you're not just removing a substance, you are removing a coping mechanism from your life,
Yeah.
right? And so if you're so used to every time you're stressed, every time your kids piss you off or your wife or your husband pisses you off or work or whatever it is, something bad happens, you drink. Well, when you take that away, now your body doesn't know what to do. So I was having full-blown panic attacks. I was hyperventilating, I was throwing up, like, it was bad
Yeah.
because my body was just, like, overwhelmed.
You were in it.
Oh, I was in it. I was deep in it.
Mhm.
So, a big thing for a lot of people is that you have to replace it with something, right? And I'm not saying a substance, I'm not saying substance
Right.
for substance.
Right. Did my caffeine intake increase? Yes, it did. Yes, it did. But,
Yeah, that's a thing to address later. I'll trade a coffee. I'll allow an extra cup of coffee if you're not drinking
right.
the night before.
Exactly.
If that's what we gotta do to get there, we can do that.
Right.
But yeah, I just think we always frame sobriety as like this win, and it is, but it's constant. It's a continuous thing. Like it's not just gonna one day everything's all done.
Right. It's a daily choice you have to make.
Yeah, yeah. Because I mean, even now, like even being in the grocery store, sometimes you walk by the cooler aisle and you're just like,
Yeah.
six pack would be nice, whatever.
Well, yeah, and that's like
The,
even
the
though
seasonal brews are out.
it's summer, like, I mean, it's summer down here, and
Some
it's,
we're
the
getting there.
weather's getting nicer, like, I wanna go float the river. Am I gonna float the river with, like, my little mocktail mix of, like, Topo Chico and maybe I'll get some pineapple like, I would love a margarita some days, and, like, listen, some of these mocktails, some of these companies got it right. I will say that. Some of them got it real right. But wouldn't it be great just to like and sometimes I catch myself, I'm like, "Man, I just wanna, like, go get, like, a nice margarita and watch a game." That sounds great.
No, it's always a margarita too.
It's
Like,
because
it's
it's
always a
margarita.
margarita with yeah, Mexican food margaritas,
It's
and
the
I'm there.
tequila. I mean, it pairs very well with a taco, you know what I mean?
You know, you make a lot of really good points, Allie, I just want you to know that.
I do. Thank you.
But, alright, so before I close all this out, what is the one thing you would want someone to hear from this conversation, especially someone who's on the fence or who's not sure if any of this even applies to them?
Try 30 days, no alcohol.
I love
I
that.
think that if you don't have to commit to forever by any means, but you just have to give yourself time to notice a difference. And 30 days is actually quite a good time frame. And take it, I mean, remove it completely. Don't I mean, mocktails, sure, but like remove the sugar, remove the liquor, remove the beer, 30 days and just observe the changes. See what happens. If you wear some sort of wearable fit device, track it. See what happens. And nothing has to be extreme, it just has to be intentional.
Yep, that was the one thing I was gonna add is it's not about being perfect.
No.
It isn't even about quitting, it's just about becoming more aware. That's another thing to add on to tracking is even if you're not into, all the health tracking and things like that, start journaling.
Yes.
That's another very viable option is even just in the morning or at night, winding down, whatever you're doing, however it fits in your schedule, just write down how you felt that day or how you feel when you wake up or just whatever it is, just put pen to paper and see what comes out.
Yep.
Um,
Set a timer
that'll
for like
definitely
10
make a
minutes and just
difference.
go.
I honestly need to start doing that some more. I've been slacking. Journaling and meditation are like two of my things that I'm like, why is it so hard?
It's hard.
It seems so easy.
It's hard. It's hard to sit in quiet too. That's the thing I challenge a lot of my clients to do is just to sit in silence.
You know,
And it's not easy,
I
but
I struggle with it. That's why I always have the TV running in the
mm,
background or music or I'll have my headphones on, like whatever it is, I need to have like
it's rough.
something going on. Yeah, even sleeping, like I need my rain sounds and my fan on and all that. But yeah, so the three questions that I would leave anyone are pretty simple. It's just why am I drinking?
Mhm.
What is this actually doing for me? And then what is this costing me? And
Yes.
it doesn't have to be in like a guilt trip way. It's just honest accountability. You're just accounting for your own life.
It's just an honest self-evaluation, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you can't make real decisions about something that you haven't looked at.
Mhm.
Like
Exactly.
really that simple.
That's about as simple and as easy as that explanation gets. I mean, I don't know how else we could break that down. That it's pretty
Yeah,
real.
that's about that one liner did it. But
That
all right.
that's a good one.
If there is one thing to take from this episode, it's not really about alcohol. It's about your relationship with it or any other substance, really. Anything that applies to just a lot of things in your life, right? Anything that can be used intentionally or used as an escape, that line is kind of yours to find. It's not really somewhere that someone can tell you where your line is, but you have to actually look for it. If this made you feel any differently, even a little bit, share it with someone who needs to hear it. These are the conversations that don't usually happen in polite company, and that's exactly why they should happen more. And that's why we're going to keep having Allie back.
That's why we're here.
But
I
if you
like
want
to
to
make
stay
situations uncomfortable.
perfect. That's what we love. But if you want to stay connected, follow me on Instagram at EHC_Steven. That's where all of my links live, my school community, the podcast, whether you're watching or listening, and everything we build here at EHC. Allie, thank you for coming back and being real about this. Third, fourth time, something like that.
Yep.
Definitely not the last, but let them know where they can follow you.
So I'm mainly on Instagram at Ali, ALI dot B as in boy. Fitness, that's where I do a lot of my stuff. I have my link set up on my Instagram, so that's where you'll find me.
Perfect. All right. Well, I appreciate you all, and we will see you on the next one.